Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. This is a first-time venture between the Dane County Cities and Villages Association and the Dane County Towns Association. So we have a number of speakers here this evening, primarily Dane County entities. So we just thought it would be an opportunity to share information for either newly elected officials or for any returning members on village boards or town boards or city boards as well. So we have myself, I am Bob Whipperforth, I'm the president of the Village of Windsor. I also serve as president of the Dane County Cities and Villages Association. We are recording the meeting tonight. Todd Schmidt from Wanakee is here, and if anybody would like a copy afterwards, Todd has assured me that he has the ability to share that with anybody that wants it. If you want to share it with fellow board members, staff, feel free to reach out to us and we can make that happen. I just wanted to mention a few things and then I'll turn it over to Jerry for his introductions. Dane County Cities and Villages Association is, as the name suggests, it's an organization that promotes excellence in municipal government, provides opportunities for officials to exchange ideas, it advocates for cities and villages, and develops a cooperative approach to municipal problems of importance in the region. And basically, it's an organization that gets together every couple of months and we exchange ideas, we help each other problem solve. If there's issues that a city or a village has, another city or village may have experience with something similar, and it's really a collaborative approach. We do lobby together for a mutual interest, and Forbes McIntosh and Ann Griffin from Government Policy Solutions are here this evening as well. And I just wanted to mention our executive committee. I don't see any of them here, but if they are, just raise your hand if you would. As I mentioned, I am the president. The vice president is Carolyn Clow. She is the vice president of DCCVA. Our treasurer is Bill Burns. He is the City of Middleton Finance Director. And then the secretary is Paul Esser. He is the mayor of the city of Sun Prairie. And then the member at large, who was just elected a couple weeks ago, is Tim Swadley. He is the mayor of the city of Stoughton. So before we move on, I'll turn it over to Jerry for your introductions.
Thank you, Bob. Good evening, everyone. Way too nice out there to be in here, but we are here. And it's great that we can sit down together and have some discussions, introduce people to the agencies that we all deal with every day. I'm Jerry Durr. I'm the chairman of the town of Bristol, president of the Dane County Towns Association. Our association history goes back into the 1940s. Actually, in Dane County, we had a Dane County Towns Association formed in its own right, and then also a Dane County Towns Association county unit of the Wisconsin Towns Association. In 1971, I took over, hate to say this, that's a long time ago, I took over the presidency of Dane County Towns Association and decided that we didn't need two towns associations in Dane County. One was fine, and so we merged them. And it's been that way ever since. Great to be here tonight. Great to see you all here tonight. Introduction to the agencies and the partners that we work with. That's what I consider them as our partners. And probably about 2 or 3% out of the 100% we probably disagree on things, but the other 97 we mostly agree on a lot of things. So it's great for our organizations to get together, and probably Bob, I think Bob would agree that we maybe should do this a little more often. With that, we'll start the program.
Thanks, Jerry. As Jerry mentioned, we try to do these as often as we can, and we have done these joint meetings before, and I think it's always great when we can work collaboratively whenever that's possible, and it just makes everything be more efficient, lets everybody have the same knowledge base. So I think there's a lot of wins in this type of setting. So we have the agenda. before us, and we're going to juggle that just slightly. We're going to start the evening with Dane County Board of Supervisors Chair, Patrick Miles. Patrick, would you come up, please?
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me. I'm happy to come share a little bit about the county board and areas of opportunities for people in our communities to interact with the county board. So, as Bob mentioned, I'm Patrick Miles, Chair of the Dane County Board. I represent District 34, which is the village of McFarland and the town of Dunn. I've been serving on the county board for a little over 17 years and was elected chair a little over a year ago. Before that, I was, like many of you, a village board trustee in the village of McFarland. I served there for a few terms before joining the county board. And I just want to extend congratulations to all the newly elected officials in the room. Welcome to local government. So I think so I'm going to give a broad brush overview of county government, because I think when we think about ways in which we may partner, collaborate, and so forth, it's the best place to start is to understand a little bit about county government and what it does, and then I'll cover, along the way, cover areas where there might be greater opportunity for direct interaction with the county board. I'm going to take my notes a little bit out of order and talk about our budget process, because if there's anything the county board does that has the greatest impact, it is the budget process, where we establish our priorities and allocate our resources, and it's a reflection of our values and what's important and where the greatest needs are. So the budget process really is a fairly lengthy process. It starts about now. The county executive will provide each of the departments his budget guidelines and directives for them. Oftentimes that includes messages like, depending on the year, maybe it's a bit more austere. He may ask for departments to develop budgets that are cost to continue. Like last year, that was his directive to all the departments was cost to continue, no new programs, and so forth. But then he goes about, after the county executive receives the county department's budget proposals, he goes to work on that and develops his budget proposal that he presents to the county board. And so in that process, he'll take the information from the departments and determine areas where he wants to focus some of his energy and priorities and develop that into the proposal. That proposal then is presented to the county board on October 1st, or if that's a weekend, the first business day thereafter. And that's really when the county board goes to work on the county budget. So from October to mid-November, the budget goes to all of our standing committees, the areas of the budget that for which those committees have oversight. And the county board really has developed a culture and practice of doing the bulk of its work at the committee level. And I remember my days on village board, one thing to know about county committees is their standing committees are all made up of just the county board supervisors. Whereas at the local level, I know in McFarland, when I was on the village board, each of our committees, standing committees, included citizen members. So that's one difference between county board and local committees. And I recall my days in village board in Parliament, it felt like we do work at committee level and then we end up rehashing it at the board meetings. And I think that's true of a number of communities. But at the county, we really have focused on doing the work at the committee level, and oftentimes when debate sparks up at a board meeting, sometimes you'll hear we're doing committee work, and that's when something might consider re-referring it back to committee to, hash out the details and before bringing it back to board for final action. So I say that to let you know that the committees are one of those places where we expect and want to hear from the public and from our constituents about areas of concern. So when there's areas of the budget that affect you at the local level, pay attention to those and keep track of where, when and where, what committees are considering pieces of budget. And those are times for you to lobby the committee at the committee level. I'm going to say a little bit more about relationship building with your county board supervisors as well as important. So I'll back up here now and just give a broad overview of county government, county board. The reason we're taking this a little bit out of order, it's hard to talk about those areas of interaction and relationships without giving this broad brush overview, and so there's a little bit of overlap between myself and what Carrie Springer was going to provide under the county executive's portion. So county government, we have the county executive is a strong county executive, unlike other counties in the state. They might have a county administrator, whereas if they do have an executive, the executive might be part-time and so forth. Similar to some local municipalities with village presidents and city mayors, oftentimes. And some of those smaller communities have city administrators or village administrators. For the county, it's the county executive. That's his full-time job, elected to a 4-year term. And there's a spring election on nonpartisan race. County board, there are 37 of us. We're a large board. We each represent a district of about 15,000 people, and we are elected all at the same time in even years to 2-year terms. And we are the legislative branch of county government. And each of the members, as I mentioned, we have standing committees. We have 6 standing committees plus our executive committee. Each county board supervisor is appointed to 1 standing committee. And then from each of those committees, 1 person is chosen to sit on the executive committee along with the county board chair that chairs that committee. County is comprised of 31 departments covering all kinds of services and needs from A to Z. At the letter A, we have the airport, we have this facility here, the Dane Energy Center and its campus, all the way to Z, where we have the zoo. In between, we have the Sheriff's Office, DA, emergency management are all folks you're going to hear from tonight, but also probably our largest department is Department of Human Services, and I'm going to come back to that a little bit as I go through the standing committees, because each of the standing committees has an area of oversight over those departments. The departments are divided up between the standing committees, and committees provide the oversight and make the final budget decisions under that structure. I do want to point out one thing, especially for those of you that are from cities and villages. One difference that I just want to emphasize, especially now that the state is going through the biennial budget, is cities and villages have home rule authority. County government and towns do not. Counties are really, in a sense, an adjunct of the state, or similar to a state agency, whereas cities and villages have the ability to govern themselves in local matters, so long as the state will step in where there's areas of statewide concern and so forth. But I say that now because while I'm talking about the importance of interacting with us during budget process, the state's going through its biennial budget, and I know one of the frustrations I've seen over the years is that erosion of home rule authority for our cities and villages. And we're seeing that now with some of the proposals, the strings tied to shared revenue and so forth. Sorry, I digress a little bit. But I want all of you to think of us County Board Supervisors as a resource and as a partner. And so make sure you know who your County Board Supervisor is and let them know of issues and concerns arising in your community, because we all do our job better when we hear from our constituents and from people serving at the local level. As I mentioned, we have 6 standing committees plus executive committee. Those committees meet twice a month, except for July and August, we dropped to once a month. And like I said, most of the work and debate and so forth occurs at that level. So, our 6 standing committees, we have Health and Human Needs, and that provides oversight for the Veteran Services, like I said, Human Services. And under Human Services, this is one area where I think there's opportunities and needs at the local level where there's opportunities and needs for direct interaction with the county board. So one of the things that Human Services provides at the local level is our joining forces for family offices. These are offices that, local offices that provide connections to resources and opportunities for the department to work with local communities to address issues that are important specifically to that community. And then several communities also have youth centers. Many of our focal points for senior services are housed at the local level in various communities. And then we have several different programs around housing needs. The key one of that would be the Affordable Housing Grant Program under the Division of Housing Access and Affordability. And we've had many projects in the city of Madison, but we've adjusted the scoring for the grant program to try to incentivize affordable housing developments throughout the county. Under Personnel and Finance Committee, the departments that the committee provides oversight for is the Department of Administration, Public Health, Madison-Dane County Public Health, the County Treasurer, and then the library. Here again, libraries are, county has a library system to provide library services to everybody throughout the county, but and for that we have a slice of the county property tax that goes to library services. For those communities that have established their own local libraries, they, as long as they meet certain standards, they're exempt from the county's property tax for county or library services. But also, those communities that have those libraries established, those libraries are eligible for reimbursement for people that are using those libraries from other communities, especially from areas that don't have libraries. So that is one area to pay attention to is I think in almost all my years on the county board, it's almost always been 100% reimbursement. But if there's ever occasion where it's not, that might be something that might be a concern to your community, and we want to the county board to address that. Our Public Protection and Judiciary Committee, we have that provides oversight to our clerk of courts, sheriff, juvenile court program, public safety communication, emergency management, and corporation counsel, family court services, medical examiner, and district attorney. I'm not going to go into a couple of those areas. The sheriff is here to talk about the office of the sheriff and so forth. So under the Public Works and Transportation Committee, that provides oversight for our airport, Henry Vile Zoo, Reliant Energy Center, public works, highway and transportation, waste and renewables. So under highway and transportation, many of your communities, you have some county highway going through your communities, so we'll often, when it comes time to do maintenance on those roadways, the county will partner with the local community to cost share in those in that maintenance. Sometimes we will do jurisdictional transfers where that section of county highway is primarily used by the local community. Then there'll be a transfer of that roadway becoming solely the responsibility of the municipality. And oftentimes that's done at a time when we are doing some type of maintenance where we're doing a cost share, and then the transfer is done at that time. Also, when it comes to plowing and so forth, in the county highway, in many places, the county plows the main roadway, and the city or village is responsible for basically plowing the sides along the curb and gutter. Then we have our Environment, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Committee, and that has oversight over the University Extension Office and Land and Water Resources. And it's under Land and Water Resources where there's also an area, many areas where there's direct service or interaction at the local level. So for example, in the rural areas, the Land and Water Resources Department has a division that develops agricultural conservation and planning practices, works with local towns and farmers around those efforts. We have a Park and Ride grant program, and this is a matching fund program to develop new regional bicycle and trails throughout the county, as long as they're consistent with our county parks and open space plan. And this is, again, an area where we partner with the local community to cost share in those efforts and expand our trails. The department also provides stormwater management, establishes the standards. All municipalities basically have to have stormwater management standards that meet the minimum standards of the counties. Some municipalities will contract with the county to provide stormwater management permitting and enforcement services, but most communities provide that themselves. Let's see. We also have our Urban Water Quality Grant Program. This is a program to convert stormwater outfalls that would otherwise flow directly into our lakes and streams, carrying all types of sediment and contaminants with them. Our curb and gutters provide a very efficient system. So the Urban Water Quality Grant Program provides resources to help communities develop detention basins and sediment ponds and so forth to keep those keep the sediment nutrients out of the lakes and streams. And then the department also is responsible for the Yahara chain, managing the lake levels throughout the 4 lakes in the Yahara chain, as well as the Yahara River. And we also, every 5 years, update our aquatic plant management plan with DNR and make sure we're monitoring and taking care of invasives and trying to keep navigation channels open and so forth, free of weed growth as best we can. So, and then finally, under that department, we have our conservation fund. And that fund is, again, a matching grant. Well, a portion of it is a matching grant fund to work with nonprofit organizations and local governments to purchase land or buffer areas, again, areas that are consistent with our parks and open space plans. But it's an effort to create buffer areas, especially around our lakes and streams, to allow for, again, to slow runoff into the lakes and streams and whatnot. So that's one example of the use of those funds. And final standing committees are zoning and land regulation committee. So most cities and villages have to provide their own, well, all cities and villages provide their own zoning, but most towns, the unincorporated areas that have not withdrawn from county zoning, use county services, the planning development department services for zoning permitting and so forth. And of course, there's a couple other departments in there that would be the registered deed. This is one of the registered deeds that manages property records and vital records. Under our executive committee, every 10 years, the executive committee is responsible for the process of our redistricting, drawing our maps. And I'm proud to say that after this last census, we implemented a process that used a commission separate from the county board and included no elected officials that helped draw the maps, made it an independent process. So those of us that serve are not drawing our own maps. But it is an area of local concern for all of you when that happens, because it obviously affects your wards and all their districts and so forth. And so your local clerks are paying close attention to that process when that happens. So other departments under their executive committee that it provides oversight for would be our Office of Equity and Inclusion, County Clerk, County Executive, and the County Board Office. So I threw a lot at you. I know it's a lot of detail. Hopefully I didn't go on too long, but I will just reemphasize what is really important is knowing your county board supervisor and developing those relationships and calling on them when you have needs. And then keeping them informed of what's happening in your communities. So, happy to answer questions.
Any questions for Chair Miles? Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll go to the Dane County Executive's Office, and Carrie Springer is representing the Executive's Office. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you. County Executive had a conflict tonight, so I apologize for that. I'm Carrie Springer. I'm the Government Affairs Director for Dane County. I work for both the County Executive and the County Board. I'm kind of unique in that regard. I lobby the state and federal governments for county needs, and we'll often try to go get state grants for things. For example, there's a number of projects happening on Park Street that we went and got a state grant for that are going to be kind of transformational for that area. The Black Excellence Center, the Urban League's redevelopment, and Centro Españo's new building, all going to be fantastic. And we applied for a grant from ARPA funds from the state for the neighborhood investment funds, and we got all those grants. So we're administering that and helping with those projects. It's going to be very exciting. So that's one of the things that I do. I also try to get federal grants and earmarks for Dane County projects. Last time we got a great earmark for a combined bike bridge between us and Sauk County. So that's going to be a really exciting project as well. So those are kind of some of the things that I do. I'll try and skip over some of the stuff. As you can see that Chair Miles already went over, and my pen was very busy crossing out some of the stuff, so you guys don't have to listen to it twice. But as you know, Dane County is a very large and growing, very quickly growing county. Without the growth of Dane County, Wisconsin might have lost a congressional seat. The additional 70,000 some residents that we had helped make sure that Wisconsin did not lose one of our congressional seats, which is really helpful for trying to get those federal earmarks when we are asking them for money. So that was helpful. As Chair Miles mentioned, we run everything from an airport to a zoo. So we have a lot of departments in between there as well, such as I won't try to go through all of them, obviously. We have a lot of departments. We touch a lot of different things because we're a big county. But we do provide a lot of services to your constituents. About 2,500 county employees provide those services. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to try and cover all of that in this span. But some of the ones you probably see a lot or might have constituents that have questions would be, obviously our county parks. We have an excellent county parks system. Our airport, obviously, a lot of folks love that airport. I do as well. I often try to fly in and out of there instead of any place else. It's one of the best airports, I think, in the country. Obviously, our highway department, our human needs department, our veteran service, waste and renewables. We have an amazing landfill, and a lot of people probably are not going to say, hey, go visit our dump. But I am going to tell you, go visit our dump. It's a landfill. It is amazing. We are doing incredible things out there with renewables and CNG gas, and they do tours. So if you're interested in seeing all that stuff, I highly recommend you contact John Welch out at the Waste and Renewables Department. They're always happy to give tours and show all the great things that they are working on out there. Obviously, we have a medical examiner's department, a planning department that does like zoning, permits, land records, things like that. We have an emergency management system, and I will let Charles Tubb tell you about all the wonderful work that they do for our county. Public health. We all got very, very familiar with the public health department over the last couple of years. We all sort of was there. But now we're all very familiar with what public health does. It is a joint department with the city of Madison, but it serves the entire county. So that is another one. And then obviously the zoo. The zoo is an amazing resource that we have here in the county, and not only just because it's free, so you can take your families there, but they host a lot of wonderful events too. So I highly encourage you to join the folks that attend the zoo on a regular basis. We also have a number of elected county officials, as Miles mentioned. They handle a lot of the services that your constituents will come to, and maybe potentially ask you about as well. So obviously the district attorney handles all of the prosecutions. The sheriff is here, so I will let him go over what his wonderful team does for our county. We have county clerk, which will help a number of your areas administer elections, which have been growing very, very I wouldn't say contentious. I don't think they're contentious, but they've been a bigger issue, brought more to the forefront by some of the news articles. So the county clerk is a very good resource for answering any questions that you might get from your constituents about how elections are run, and and they have a good website that has all the dates and the forms needed for elections. The clerk of courts obviously runs our court system and our courthouse. The register of deeds, as he mentioned, personal records, land records. It's one of those departments that you might not know it's there until you need it, and then they have like all these things that you need. So you can go there and get critical records such as birth certificates and things like that. And then obviously the county treasurer, we have that as well. County treasurer deals with property taxes. All these folks provide really important services, and they have really great teams, so don't hesitate to reach out to them. They're always happy to answer any questions that you or your constituents might have. I'm going to touch on just a couple of the county departments that you might have a lot of interaction with. Chair Miles did mention some of the things. I will try not to duplicate what he has said. But our biggest department is the Human Services Department. It's about half of our budget goes to the Human Services Department. They provide many, many important services, such as the Aging and Disability Resource Center. That is a place where they provide support services for seniors, those with disabilities, and their caregivers. They will help people navigate the services that are there. They are an incredible resource to help people figure out what is available for help. We have the Behavioral Resource Center that provides support services for mental health and substance abuse needs. The Job Center, which is located over on Aberg Avenue, they will provide help with resumes, job searches, and also helping people get signed up for unemployment if they need it. We also have senior nutrition programs. There's about 28 dining locations throughout the county. It's a great network of places where seniors can go interact with other people, get a meal, keep in touch and find out what's going on. So that happens all over the county as well. I know Chair Miles mentioned a number of the places where you can get local governments work with the Human Services Department, such as the Affordable Housing Development Fund. That's a big one. We're really trying to put as many resources as possible into that fund because there's a huge need for affordable housing in Dane County. They have partnered with a number of municipalities across the county to create about 2,000 or so affordable housing units so far. The applications for that are due in the spring. So if any of your communities are thinking about building an affordable housing unit, be sure to contact them. They can help you navigate how that process works. There's also the CDBG Home program. That's a community development block grants, and they do minor home repairs and some major home rehabilitations for the low-income residents of Dane County. Again, they can help you navigate that program and figure out if that's something that might work for if a constituent calls you with a question about that. We also do the Building Bridges, which is a collaboration between school districts in the county to provide mental services at schools, which has become pretty critical over the last few years with many students struggling with the pandemic. So that was a program started a while back. One of the other departments you might come into contact with is our highway department. It's a very visible one, right? Like you see the county plows out on the highways, and when you see them, think about how your garbage might be powering some of them. The waste that is generated helps fuel a whole ecosystem out there of renewable energy. So it helps save the county taxpayers dollars, it's better for the environment, and those big trucks, we're getting as many as we can to use the compressed natural gas, so we don't have to buy gasoline for those trucks. It's great. They also help plan, design, and construct our county road system, and there's a number of areas where you all might end up working with them as well. They administer the local bridge program for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. So when you maybe have to replace a bridge in your community, you will probably work with that team to get that done, and they will help you navigate that. They can also help you attain federal bridge replacement funds. So that's, certain bridges are classified in different ways, and they can help you navigate that as well. Anyone here from the town or city of Monona? Oh, yay. There's a program just for you guys for some reason. I don't know why. You'd have to ask the highway department. But for some reason, there is an annual county bridge program that assists the town and the city of Monona with their bridges. Nobody else is eligible for it, so contact them if you have something that you want to talk to them about. They can help you do a speed zone study as well. If that's something that you're thinking of doing, and maybe when you're redoing a road, they can help you with that. They administer what's called the LRIP program. That's the Local Road Improvement Program. That is actually funded through the state. The state allocates money to every county, and everybody distributes the money out. They administer that. So they are a good resource for that. They will help you navigate that program when those funds become available. The head of that department is Pam Dunphy. She is amazing, and her and her engineering staff are always available to discuss any issues that you might have when it comes to highway and transportation, so don't hesitate to reach out to her. They have a really good contact information on their website, but Pam's email is, her last name is Dunphy, that's DUNPHY @countyofdane.com, and they are always happy to help with that. And then lastly, land and water is one obviously that you might see a lot of and interact with. It's the most visible one, obviously, as I said, is the county park system. Tons of great options for your constituents and yourself. Can reserve park shelters, can host events, and we have a lot of campsites as well. So you can reserve campsites on the county website. If you go to the county, big county page, countyofdane.com, and then navigate over to the Land and Water Department, you can find the online reservations for campsites there. As Chair Miles mentioned, there are a couple places where local governments work with this department as well in order to do projects. One, as he mentioned, was the Conservation Fund Grant Program. That's grants to local governments to help purchase parks and open spaces. Those applications are accepted all year, so there's not a certain due date. You can just work with the department on putting an application in. He also mentioned the Urban Water Quality Grant Program. Those are grants to municipalities to help upgrade the water quality of things that are going into the storm runoff to help protect our lakes and rivers. Again, those applications are evaluated as they come in, so you don't have a certain date that you have to get those in. Those can cover up to 50% of the costs of those programs. So staff is always willing to talk about an application before you submit it. So don't hesitate to reach out to them first and talk about what is needed to have a successful application. They'd be more than happy to walk you through that. And basically, in conclusion, we are always happy to talk with you guys about what we can work on together, so don't hesitate to reach out. I have a bunch of cards. If you want to grab one, I'm always happy to connect you with whatever is the right person, the right department, and whoever is the right person in those departments for whatever problem you guys might be having that we maybe can help with, or if there's just a project you'd like to partner on. don't hesitate to reach out. Always happy to connect you with whoever you need. So again, the county website is countyofdane.com. It's a big resource, lots of information there. But thanks. Any questions?
Any questions for Carrie? Thank you.
Thanks.
Before I introduce Sheriff Barrett, I just wanted to mention one thing. The Village of Windsor contracts for law enforcement services through Dane County Sheriff's Department. And a year or two ago, Windsor had the unfortunate situation where we had a pretty high-profile case. And my reason for saying this is that watching the Sheriff's Department do their work was just simply unbelievable. The professionalism that they exhibited, the resources that they put forward in this particular case was just amazing. And as a bystander, just kind of watching from afar, I was impressed, as was our whole community. So, Sheriff, thank you for that, and welcome for tonight. Thank you. Sheriff Barrett.
Sorry.
You're in safe, not open.
We believe in you, Forbes.
I'm not, because I've never had this problem.
Thank you. Well, good evening, and thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I want to just first thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank each and every one of you for putting in. Community service and being a community servant is one of the greatest things you can do for your community. Representing everyone throughout your jurisdiction I can tell you there's nothing better. And the fact that you all could have been any place else in the world, but you decided to put in and represent the communities that you live in is one of the greatest servant philosophies on earth. And I want to thank you for what you do and what you will continue to do for your communities here in Dane County. Second, I want to thank whoever's in control of the thermostat here because it feels fantastic in here. Coming from out there wearing polyester pants and a long sleeve shirt. So whoever's on that thermostat, thank you. Again, my name is Sheriff Calvin Barrett, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about the great work that we do at our Sheriff's Office. I want to provide just information in regards to what we do, where we're at, and all of the different services that we can provide each and every one of you in your towns, villages, and cities. First, like a menu, right? You want to see a menu before you eat a meal? We're going to talk about the things that we're going to discuss in this brief presentation. We're going to talk, number one, about the Dane County Sheriff's Office information. What are we doing? Where are we? How many are we? And where do we go? What are our responsibilities? Then we'll talk about the Dane County jail information. What does the jail do? How big is the jail? What are the different facilities of the jail? What are the services that we provide for those who are incarcerated? But also, what is the control? What can the Sheriff's Office legally do when someone's incarcerated in their jail? Then we'll go to the jail consolidation project, which I'm sure a lot of people are interested in figuring out where exactly is this decades-long process at, and what are we looking at moving forward. And then I'll take questions at the end. So first, it's important for you to know what are the goals that we have set for our Sheriff's Office and our service to you and your community members. What is the vision that I've set? What is the mission statement for each and every one of our deputies every day that they come to work and put on this uniform and serve you? But also, what are the core values that guide them in every decision that they make on duty and off duty? We'll start with our vision statement. We strive to create a peaceful community to live, work, and visit by serving Dane County as a trusted and respected Sheriff's Office. That is the vision that we have set for our Sheriff's Office and every decision that we make long term. Our mission statement is we are dedicated to building relationships and solving problems through evidence-based decision-making and procedural justice. The key there is building relationships. Everything that we do on and off duty, every day that we put on this badge, our goal is to build a relationship. Number two, how do we do that? Through evidence-based decision-making. The days of gut feelings and instincts in our profession are gone. We look at data. We turn that data into intelligence by breaking it down and studying it. And from studying it, we use that to create strategies and implementations to keep people safe. And procedural justice, which is the foundation of 21st century policing. That is what's been set forth, and that's where our profession is heading, and that's why we put evidence-based decision-making and procedural justice in our mission statement, because that's what we do every single day. Our core values, we call these the 5 C's of exceptional service: character, competence, compassion, courage, and communication. Every decision we make, every promotion we make, every arrest decision, every citation, everything we do is based off of these 5. Character, number 1, who you are. We hire for character and we train competence. And competence is better than just getting the C-. Trust me, I played football in the Big Ten. I know the value of a C- and where it can get you. We're trying to be above and beyond in our service, just as we did with that unfortunate circumstance that took place in Windsor. And compassion. We do it because it feels right. We know we're not going to arrest our way out of the issues that we see with opioid use disorder and addiction. It's not going to happen. We've incarcerated nearly 2.5 million people, and we're at the same exact spot as a country. We have to do better, and we have to use evidence-based decision-making and procedural justice in our service. Courage. Not the courage to run into a burning building. Not the courage to go into a gunfight, but the courage to look your partner in the face and let them know that what they said was disrespectful and rude. The courage to look themselves in the mirror and say, I need a break. I need help. The courage to take away the stigma in our profession of mental illness. That's the courage that we're looking for when we're serving you and the people that you represent. And last, communication. That is everything. We hire people with character and that can communicate. As a former law enforcement trainer in the academy, I can train people how to search buildings. I can train people how to drive fast. I can train people how to shoot. I can train people how to do an investigation. But I can't teach you how to empathize with that single mother driving with a suspended registration on her way to the laundromat with her 3 kids in the back of the car. That just is something that you have here, and that's what we're looking for when we hire each and every one of our deputies, but also our staff members that represent our sheriff's office as well. So those are the 5 C's. So what are the duties of the sheriff? What is the sheriff mandated to do? Well, first, it is a sheriff's office, because the sheriff gets his authority from the Constitution. So it's an office of the sheriff. The roles and responsibilities of the sheriff is defined in chapter Wisconsin State Statute 59.27. It says right here, number 1, we have to keep and maintain the jail. We take charge and custody of the jail and persons confined within the jail. That is our number 1 constitutional authority. Number 2, we have representatives from our sheriff's office and the district attorney's office, because we're over 300,000 as a county. We deal with evictions, civil process papers, temporary restraining orders. We deal with foreclosures, the waterways, which is mandated. There's 41 square miles of waterways in Dane County out of the 1,200 total, as well as the courts. In every criminal court, we have a sworn Dane County deputy in that courthouse keeping and maintaining the peace. Also, the Constitution states that we are professional services relating to the sale, transportation, and storage of explosives. We have our hazard disposal or devices unit team that specializes in finding and dismantling explosives. When you're going through and clearing out your great-grandfather's chest and you come across that funny-looking grapefruit, that's a grenade. And you need to call us immediately and get the heck out of there so we can come and dispose of that. But we don't just do that here in Dane County. We're a leader in the state of Wisconsin, and our teams go all across the state to provide our professional services. Next, we enforce all city or village ordinances and city or in village in which the sheriff provides law enforcement services. So the towns and villages that don't have their own law enforcement agencies, that is our responsibility. We can provide contract services to increase our presence in an area, but we will be there to keep and maintain the peace and enforce state laws, ordinances, and county ordinances as well. And our ultimate goal is to keep and maintain the peace. If you look at the role and responsibilities of the sheriff in the Wisconsin state statutes, it says our number 1 goal is to keep and maintain the peace. It doesn't say write 100,000 tickets. It doesn't say arrest 400,000 people. It says keep and maintain the peace. And how do we do that? Through our 5 C's of exceptional service. So here are some of the additional duties that we have. Just a few. We have our tactical response team, which does high-risk warrant services for those that are considered armed and dangerous. We also have our HDU, which we talked about, our hazard devices unit. We have our crisis negotiation team, who is the one that is there having those negotiations with someone who's going through a difficult time and needs someone to talk to, and to make sure that we resolve it in a peaceful manner. We had one recently at a bar where someone was involved in a domestic incident. They left, they broke into a bar, they started shooting at deputies, and we were able to connect and communicate and have a peaceful resolution, because our goal is to keep and maintain the peace. We handle significant investigations, officer-involved shootings, officer-involved critical incidents, large deaths, multiple deaths. That is what we handle for our surrounding agencies, including the Sun Prairie Police Department, including Middleton. We are there to help and assist even those larger agencies. We have a marine and trail enforcement. If you haven't seen the big F-350 trucks with the four-wheelers, the ATVs on the back, that's a cool job. I'm jealous, right? They have the shorts and the boots, and they go around, and they have ski-doos on the back in the wintertime, and then in the summertime they have their ATVs. But they handle the waterways for enforcement on the waters, but also in the trails of Dane County and the rural parts. We have mental health deputies. We looked at the evidence of our 8 community deputies when I first came into this position. And we looked at the number and the data, and we broke down that our community deputies, instead of being out in the community building relationships, they spent 80% of their time on mental health related calls. So instead of doing kickball tournaments, they were dealing with those going through mental health crisis. So what did we do? We reallocated 4 of those deputies to become full-time mental health deputies to handle those calls, and the other 4 now focus on the community outreach things that we want to do. That's taking the evidence and creating a strategy to better serve the communities that we all live in. We have embedded crisis workers, which are in each and every one of our precincts, where it's a professional, mental health professional that's in the precinct that responds to calls with our deputies to help situations when someone's going through a mental health crisis. I can tell you this, we train our deputies well, they work hard, they're dedicated, but they're not mental health professionals. They can't do it. And so that's why we team up with mental health professionals to help serve the community and find peaceful resolutions for someone that's in mental health crisis. We have community deputies, we have a crash reconstruction team that we use throughout the southern part of the state. We have a traffic service team. If you've seen the big truck on the belt line, that is something that we do, free of charge. We have gases, or we have gasoline that we can provide. We have fluids. We help with flat tires. We warn drivers of pending changes in traffic on the belt line, free of service to our community. We have our traffic enforcement team, which is dedicated to keeping our community safe and enforcing those significant traffic violations that affect everyone. And I'm not talking about a license plate light being out. I'm talking about impaired driving, reckless driving, inattentive driving, and speeding. Those are the things that affect us. Those are the things that hit that family of 5 going to church on a Sunday afternoon, and that affects us all. And then we have our drone team. If you didn't know, we have dedicated deputies that are trained to use drones. We use these drones to find individuals, especially on silver alerts. When someone goes missing out in the cold, we can put those up several hundred feet in the air, put a thermal camera on that, and we can identify and help people right away. The future that I see for our sheriff's office is that each and every one of our deputies will have drones in the back of their squads so that we can use those drones to gather information so we're not rushing into situations that are dangerous. It allows us to give live time feed to our deputies on scene so they can make good, smart decisions moving forward. So let's talk about our sheriff's office. How big are we? Anyone want to take a guess? How big? How big? How many deputies do you think we have, sir?
So many that poor Fitchburg cannot hire anybody because you guys are stealing them.
Yeah, well, steal is a strong word, but we are dedicated to providing all of our professionals with an opportunity to further their career in law enforcement. Ain't no sheriff's office. Said that a few times, huh? Yeah. So, anyone? Numbers? 100, 200? 600 deputies?
Yeah.
Excellent. That's a good start. Anyone else? Chair Miles? Ha! Called you out.
You're around 800.
800. Oh, close. Well, we have 471 sworn deputies. We have 119 and a half professional staff. So around close to 590 and a half. And a lot of times people ask, well, what's that half? It's a part-time position. It's not half of a person running around trying to do traffic stops, right? So of those 590, 60 are supervisors. 5 of our professional staff supervisors. We used to refer to our professional staff as non-sworn. But in speaking to them when I got into the sheriff's office, they relayed and expressed to me that when they said non-sworn, they took that as being non-important. So that's why we refer to our staff as professional staff, because titles matter. So when we look at the 4 divisions that we have at our sheriff's office, we have security services, which is the jail. We have field, which is patrol. We have support that deals with IT in the courts. And then we have administrative that deals with training and professional standards. Security, being the largest one that we have, is 276. Field is 157. Support has 101 deputies. And administrative has 56 deputies that are within that. I believe, is there a question?
Yes.
Representative Ratcliffe? Yes.
Thank you, Sheriff. 471 deputies, is that what we currently have, or is that what would put us at full staff?
That is what will put us at full staff. We're approximately 45 to 50 short right now. We are trying to keep, so if you didn't know the history, the public safety building was built in 1994. And at that time, the sheriff's office hired over 100 deputies to staff the new building. Well, here we are close to 30 years later. Guess what all those 100 deputies are doing? They're starting to retire. So we're trying to keep up with all those deputies that are retiring. We average maybe 1 to 2 a week, people that have been here 25 to 30 plus years that are moving on. We've been very blessed to work with our county executive's office and the county board to ensure that we compensate our deputies well, if not the best in the state, to keep those deputies to stay that extra 1 to 3 years. So instead of going at 22 years, they're going at 25, which is allowing us to ramp up and continue to fill our ranks. So we're down approximately 45 to 50 deputies right now, Representative Franklin. Thank you for your question. So these are some of the facilities that we have. You see the top is the city-county building. If you look at the top 2 floors of that building on top, that is where our city-county building jail is. That building was built in the 1950s. It was added on in the 1980s, and it is old, decrepit, and borderline unconstitutional. And it has been an honor to work with our county executive and our county board supervisors to work to close that jail so that we have a safe, humane, and rehabilitative facility and shut this building down permanently. We have the public safety building, which is this building right here. If you look on the 3rd and the 4th floor of this, this is our where our jail is, where the residents of our facility stay. The 2nd floor is all administrative offices. We have the Ferris Center, which is out off of Rimrock Road, which is now closed. We've worked very close with our county executive's office to turn that former jail into a rehabilitative facility for those going through mental health crisis. So now that building is going to be transformed into a service and a rehabilitation facility from a jail. We have our West Precinct, which is out in the town of Verona. We have our Northeast Precinct, which is in DeForest off of Mueller Road. And we have our Southeast Precinct, which is just open, and you see it down here off of N in Stoughton. So now let's talk about the jail. What does the jail do? What do we do? So let's look at the different facilities. The city-county building has a maximum capacity of 308 residents. 308 beds is the max that it has. Now, if you look at underneath there, max and medium, this facility is designed to hold maximum and medium behavioral residents. It's not designed to hold minimum. The law, the state has laws that mandate if residents are classified through behavior as minimum or medium or maximum, there are certain facilities that they have to be in. The fixtures have to be a certain way. The design has to be a specific way because of their behavior that they've been classified as. Our public safety building has 492 beds, and this is an open dormitory style. So the pod looks just like this with bunks in it, a bathroom, and common areas for people to share. In the city-county building, we have what you refer to as cages, what you would see in Alcatraz. 4-person blocks, bars that close, cell blocks. That's what the city-county, that's indirect supervision. And the public safety building, 492 beds, is direct supervision. Studies have shown that direct supervision helps individuals be treated with dignity and respect. Instead of asking for a toothbrush through bars, they can walk up to the deputy and have a conversation like a human being. But remember, with those 492 beds, we cannot put maximum level residents in the medium. We can't do that in the PSB. All of those beds are not considered the same. So there are certain classifications that we break down our residents based off of sex or gender, based off of classification of their behavior, medium, minimum, maximum, then based off of special needs. That's how we break them down, and that's how we have to house them. Our total jail population today was 717. 717, and 50 of those are reallocated to other counties. So we technically should be at 767 residents in our jail right now. What are the programs that we provide in our jail? So when someone comes into our facility, we are one of the few jails in the state of Wisconsin that provides everyone with a medical evaluation and a mental health evaluation upon coming into our facility. We are one of the only facilities in the state of Wisconsin that has full-time medical and mental health staff on site. Most jails send people out for medical emergencies to hospitals, or they have to bring individuals into the jail or take them out if they're going through a mental health crisis. The largest contract, the most expensive contract that the Dane County Sheriff's Office has is through our medical services. We know the importance of appropriate medical care for those within our care, and that's why we spend $8 million a year on a contract with WellPath to ensure our residents have the appropriate medical care. We have our jail diversion program, which is designed for individuals who have been sentenced. Once they've been sentenced, found guilty and been sentenced, instead of going to jail, they go out on the ankle monitoring system. This used to be called CAMP, the Custody Alternative Monitoring Program. Now we call it jail diversion. Huber is no longer being housed inside of our jail facility. We looked at what was the purpose of Huber? If you look at the principle of it, someone is sentenced to serve their time in jail. We let them out for 12 hours a day, unsupervised, and then we make them come back into the jail at night to sleep. So I'm looking like, well, if they're safe to be out for 12 hours by themselves, why are they coming back to jail for? Didn't make any sense. So we changed that. Now anyone who's been sentenced to Huber by the judges now goes out on ankle monitoring, or jail diversion. This provides us with a great balance of three things. Public safety, number one, because we know every place they're going, every place they've been, as well as we can set exclusionary zones around certain things like bars, like certain streets, like certain places, parks, things like that, that as soon as they enter that, it alerts our deputies and we can arrive on scene. Number two, it allows them to be rehabilitated in the community, closest to their support systems, closest to their jobs, closest to schools, closest to services, as well as it helps with accountability. Our medication assisted treatment program is something we started about a year ago. That's where we continue those who are on medications for opioid use disorder. We use Subutex, which is something to help with heroin withdrawals. We continue that medication once they're incarcerated. We have our Vivitrol program. It's a once-a-month shot that helps individuals that are going through opioid use disorder as well, but it also works for alcohol too. So we can use it for those who are addicted to alcohol as well. We have our Metro High School, which is the high school that we have that has its actual, where we send students to school to get their diplomas. If you didn't follow our social media, we actually brought in designers. So the students that were graduating from high school got to design and make their own cap and gown. They got to cut the materials, they got to sew it. And then we have a big ceremony for them and their families to come in when they graduate. But we also have over 30 programs in our jail, which include Parenting Inside Out, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and Seeing and Believing, which is the only program in the state of Wisconsin that specifically focuses on those residents that are 16 to 25 years old. So when we talk about the jail consolidation project, this is where it's at to kind of wrap this up. It's a total of 6 stories. It'll go in the back parking lot of our public safety building. So if you look here, this is the public safety building now. This is the back parking lot, and yes, that house will be there. That is a historic house, and we made the decision not to move it because it was important to the people of that community. So we've made arrangements to build around that. Now the building will not be as high as this. This was the original rendering when it was 7 stories. It'll actually be 1 floor shorter. It'll have 825 beds, which will be the max. But if you look at our jail population today was 717, with another 50 that should be coming back. We're going to be at that max very close, or very soon. If we were to open today, we would be over capacity. We will also have mental health beds, which we have none right now. The only place we have to put someone going through mental health crisis is solitary confinement, a safe cell. This new facility will have medical beds, mental health beds, programming space, exercise and spiritual space, but we will most importantly close the city-county building. It's going out to bid this summer, and we should be breaking ground in the winter of 2023, 2024, the beginning of this year. Our ultimate goal is to keep and maintain the peace. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, comments? I can leave business cards here. I would encourage anyone to go on a tour of our jail. They're free. We're very flexible. When you can and can't come, please do ride-alongs. We do those as well. And we're going to be starting our Citizens Academy as well, too. Yes, sir.
Citizens Academy is exactly what I was going to ask.
Excellent.
Other questions for Sheriff Barrett?
Yes.
What's going to become of the city-county building?
That will be turned back over to the city. They'll get the 6th and 7th floor, and what they do with that will really be up to them. Our goal is to close it. It's not, in our assessment, the studies have shown it's not the place. It doesn't match our current values of treating people with dignity and respect. We can hold people accountable while treating them correctly. It's not a this or that. It's a this and that. Yes?
Any idea when you will be fully staffed with officers?
Well, before the pandemic hit, we were down 10 officers, so we are trying as much as we can to hire quality individuals and bring them in. We're not going to lower our standards just for numbers. We've learned from what happened in Miami PD in the 80s. We're still keeping our high standards. We're going to continue to focus on the 5 C's of exceptional service, and we just had interviews today for 12 that are moving on from our panel interview going into the background. So hopefully I'll be swearing in 12 new deputies here in the next couple of weeks. Thank you. Yes?
What does procedural justice look like to you?
Procedural justice looks like to me is providing individuals, people, with something that I believe our profession doesn't really give people, and the number one thing is a voice. A lot of times we're too busy telling you what we're going to do, and we're not listening to what we should be doing. A lot of times as leaders, we come into a room, or we come into a space, and we start talking about what we're going to do or how we're going to do it. But we really just need to ask questions and listen. And I think that voice, there are 4 pillars to procedural justice. One is voice. One is transparency. People have to feel the process is fair. How many times have you gotten a ticket and you knew you were speeding, but the person treated you with dignity and respect, and you're like, yeah, I deserve that. Or you've gotten off with a warning, but the officer was rude and disrespectful, and you were more mad. Wish you would have got the ticket. That matters. So there are really 4 pillars to procedural justice, and with those together, moving forward, we need to allow people to voice their frustrations, to speak about what they feel is important. We have to be transparent, and we have to make sure that we're working with the community in our service, and not policing areas, but serving areas. Excellent. Thank you for the question. Excellent.
The last few years, law enforcement nationwide has gone through some pretty tough times. And how do you handle that in your department? How do you keep your people motivated and wanting to continue to serve the public?
Yeah, well, I think they have it. It's being able to recognize and do the little things. I think it's really important as a leader to go out of your way to know every person's name in an agency. When I was at Wisconsin, that's something that Coach Alvarez did that really meant a lot to me. He always knew who I was. There's 120 people on that team. 60 of them are 300-pound guys from all over the country. He knew my name. Those are the ways we treat our people with dignity and respect. That procedural justice works interior as well as exterior. We have to give our internal, our deputies, a voice as well. Every year we have town hall meetings where I meet with every single one of our deputies in a group, and we talk about the past year and what the next year is going to look like. I'll allow them, they love asking questions. The big thing that we run across in our profession is the rumor mill. Ooh-wee! You thought sororities were bad. Goodness gracious, our profession is worse. So I call it, in the videos that I do, rumor mill kill. Well, they're allowed to ask, is this really happening? Are we going to COs? No, we're not going to COs. Sheriff, are you running for governor? No, I'm not running for governor. Well, so-and-so said, I know so-and-so said I was running for governor. I'm not running for governor, right? So those are the ways. I do videos instead of emails, making people feel special and respected in what they do. A handwritten note saying, hey, you did a good job on that call. Great job talking that person down. Sending things out to the community. We had 2 deputies that jumped into the river to pull someone out of a car that crashed and was upside down and under the water. Has anyone go in the water about 3 weeks ago? It's freezing. It's muddy, and they had all of their equipment and stuff on, but they did it because they are heroes. And recognizing that really helps with that as we move forward. The compensation package helps too, right? I think everyone in the the state's noticing our compensation package. We have great benefits, we have a great retirement, we have a great team, and they have an opportunity to do many things in their career. And that's what's keeping them with us and not going to other agencies that are just focused on patrol.
Any last questions? Thank you.
Excellent, thank you so much. And I do apologize, I do have to go. There is a deputy waiting to be promoted to detective right now. So I'm gonna go promote that deputy to detective. So thank you guys again for your time and have a great night.
Okay, we're running a little bit long in time, but we'll probably shorten up the break, the intermission a little bit. So next I'd like to invite up to the podium the Dane County Emergency Management Director, Charles Tubbs.
I'll do my best to get us back on time. I'll say 2 or 3 words and walk away. Again, thank you, and thank you for this great opportunity. I have with me tonight is probably one of the finest assistant deputy directors in the country, and that's Carrie Meyer. Give her a hand. I really appreciate her, trust her with everything we do, and she does just really an outstanding job. Well, again, I'm going to try to be quick. She's going to share some ideas and thoughts with you as well. I'm just going to give you the information point blank. Emergency management is governed under Wisconsin State Statute 323. Emergency management is different than what it started out to be right after 9/11. It used to be we took care of grants and we got equipment. Now we're doing a little bit of every single thing that goes on. We're here to serve you, and I want you to remember that. You can call us anytime. You're not alone. I know a lot of you may be new or all types of situations that are happening. The country's and facing some very difficult, troubled times with shootings, severe weather. All types of things are happening. We're worried about cyber attacks. All those different areas are coming under emergency management, and we are preparing ourselves and our communities to be prepared to deal with these situations. There's a county EM in every county in Wisconsin. There's 71 counties, 72 counties, and there's one for every county. Some counties only have one person, and it's really tough work to do by yourself. But we're here to strengthen our communities, work with our stakeholders, protect lives, property, the environment, the residents and visitors of Dane County. Above Dane County, we're more than lights and sirens. We are planning for the disasters well before they ever happen. For instance, we learned we have severe weather coming on tomorrow. Let's say tomorrow, let's say next Tuesday. Tomorrow we're already rolling out the game plan on how we're going to deal with it and preparing the community so we're not caught at the last minute. We are really prepared to deal with the situation with first-hand knowledge and working very closely with the National Weather Service. And I'm rushing through because I know it's hard sitting here this long. So you can have questions for us in the end, but we do the preparedness work for our counties. We work very closely and very hard to make sure you got exactly what you need. We want you never to hesitate to contact us. 5 principles of emergency management is prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. And I think you all know what those basically are. Recovery starts the minute the crisis happens for us. The minute the tornado comes through, the minute the civil unrest happens, we start planning for us to return to a normal operation and situation for the entire county. We coordinate with all law enforcement, fire, and EMS throughout the county, throughout the state. We are the ones who bring in FEMA after we have worked closely with the county executive's office, the county board's office. We bring in FEMA to try to reimburse as best we can the public and people who have suffered major loss and catastrophes through the severe and dangerous weather and situations we have. Just a couple other quick things I'm going to say here. What are the emergencies? I think you know: tornadoes, fires, storms, landslides, explosions, nuclear attacks, terrorism, man-made problems, pandemics. We talk about the pandemics. We're very involved, very heavily involved with public health in the pandemic before it hit. We were planning. I think many of you knew we were on the phones every day having briefings with up to 500 people throughout Dane County every single day, keeping you well abreast and aware of what was taking place and how we're going to deal with this and come out of this. Okay, I think overall we did a really great job as a county to survive what we faced with one of the most difficult things we've ever witnessed in our lives. And I just want to point out, we're responsible for that wonderful siren system you hear. You're sitting there relaxing and all of a sudden it goes off, and first Wednesday of the month, the testing system. We have people prepared and ready. The minute we get information that there's a tornado coming through or tornado watch or something that magnitude, our staff goes right to the office. We don't sit at home and go to the basement. We go right to the office, we maintain, and we stay there until either it passes or pray to God it doesn't hit, and make sure everything is ready to roll and ready to work for the citizens throughout the county. We deal with a number of things. We're dealing with the active shooter, active killer. Carrie has helped put together a initiative. I don't want to call it a program because we're going to be in this active shooter, active killer for a long time. People are angry. They're carrying guns. They're carrying other dangerous weapons, and they're looking to harm and hurt anyone who they can hurt. They put together a great plan for training the schools, businesses, churches, all types of different locations, citizens at large. Again, we have I can go on and on and on. We deal directly with the civil unrest that we experienced there 2 years ago. We're definitely directly involved. We're responsible for bringing the National Guard in. We're responsible for helping bring additional law enforcement personnel in from all over the state or outside of the state. We work with the Department of Emergency Management. So there's a lot of different areas. We could talk all night. Like I say, it went from simply grants and property, and now we are involved. Basically, how I put it, if the government, federal government, does not know what to do with it, they give it to emergency management. And we do a very good job. We really do. We got a great team here, great team with the state of Wisconsin, and a great team with the feds. We are currently serving with the FBI on the national terrorism briefings. We're serving with the FBI on the active shooter killers throughout the country, briefings by phone and by Zooms. So our department has really stepped up and really has taken a real leadership role in a lot of these areas to do our best to keep the citizens safe. Now, I can talk till 10, 11 o'clock tonight. I don't think nobody wants to hear me do that. But I want to just point out a couple other quick things. We have 27 fire departments in Dane County. We have 21 EMS departments, 26 police departments. We offer a huge mobile command, which purchased by the Dane County here, that we make available for all the crime scenes. That big, huge vehicle you see out there is readily equipped to do anything, travel anywhere, and do whatever is needed by emergency responders. So again, I'm not going to keep talking. I'm going to save time for questions if you have it, but I'm going to carry an opportunity to talk about a new initiative also we have started in our department. Carrie?
All right.
Thank you.
I'll cover that quick. Hopefully you grabbed the handouts on the way in. I have some extras here, but just wanted to share what we went through with the local emergency management personnel at each of the municipalities. So we found over the last 20 years or so, it seems like we get to know people quite well at the municipality once a disaster hits. So I like to use Peter Huebner with Mazomania as my example. Until the flooding hit, I didn't know Peter at all. And now, you know, he's a phone call away, and we help him with a lot of things that are on their plate out there. But until that actual disaster happened, we just didn't have those connections. So what we're trying to do to build those connections is we've broken the county up into 4 quadrants, and we have 4 of our staff that are EM specialists and are working with each of these quadrants. Number one, the biggest thing we want to work with everyone on is adopting a emergency management plan. And that's in State Statute 323, that every municipality, whether you're a town, a village, or a city, you have a plan adopted by your leadership. So, and you also, with that plan, designate someone to be the head of emergency management within your municipality. And the small municipalities, this seems like a really big undertaking. And so what we've done is, by these liaisons being available, we can get you a template, we can help with some of those meetings, but really it's just about bringing your partners to the table. And I feel like that's a huge piece of what emergency management does, is just bring people to the table, talk about what can we do for one another, and we can solve a lot just by having those conversations. So please work with your municipalities if they haven't already started working on this plan, or if you haven't designated an emergency management lead. Please work with them on that. Reach out to us. Our contact information is there. We want to help. You can see this one sheeter that we gave you is something we gave to the clerks and the administrators. And our advice to them was kind of throw that on your bulletin board, and when you have a moment, take a look at that. Maybe schedule a quarterly meeting with your partners within the village or town, city, and your partners outside of the municipality. So maybe it's some of your churches, you know, some private businesses within your community that could help you when something does happen within your community. So quarterly discussions, getting something on the calendar is really helpful, but talk to us if we can help with exercises or any of that. Charles mentioned CB1, we do a lot of collaborative training. We have 3 divisions in emergency management: planning, hazmat, and EMS, and I'm not sure that all municipalities know that we work very closely with all the EMS agencies. And we do data collection for all the EMS agencies, and I'm going to give this to you to find out how I can share this sort of thing. But this is a cardiac arrest data summary for Dane County, and the national average for cardiac arrest survival is 32%. Dane County's percentage in this past year was 65%. And this is stuff that we want you all to know about. And I'm not sure that this always gets to everyone, but the ability to have an EMS division here in emergency management has really made a difference in the pre-hospital healthcare system for all of the residents and visitors of Dane County. And I think that's something for you all to know about, and just know that we're a resource. We have a lot of data. So as you're trying to figure things out with your chiefs, whether it's volunteers, staffing, your coverage areas, things like that, talk to us. We're here as a resource for you, whether it's emergency management, EMS, or any other planning. So keep us in mind. Again, this shows you the quadrants. Our names are on there. If anyone else needs this, let me know. And I think.
Could you just mention to them about Base Hospital? I think
sure.
this is really unique.
So Base Hospital is something that we were able to finally make happen with our hospitals. We partner with all of the hospitals in Dane County. We meet monthly to talk about surge and pandemic and mass casualties and how would we manage everything. And we were actually able to get the hospitals, it took some time, but to agree to a base hospital concept. When we have 5 or more injuries in the field, we're able to activate base hospital, find out what all our hospitals in the county can handle for patients, and then distribute our patients appropriately. In the past, EMS would need to call each hospital and say, how busy are you? How many red tag patients can you take? How many walking wounded can you take? Things like that. Now we make one call to 911, say activate base hospital. They send out a notification to all of our hospitals. The hospitals within 10 minutes are able to say how many patients they can manage, and then we can distribute them from an EMS perspective. We're looked at across the state on this concept because it's challenging. Number one, hospitals are sometimes competitive. They're all busy, but they still have a competitive piece. So getting our hospitals to work together and understand that we're all in this together and all with the same mission was a big thing to overcome. But it definitely puts our EMS providers and our patients in a much better place when something like this happens. So, yeah, some good initiatives.
Yeah. Got a question over there.
Oh, yes. Supervisor.
Thank you for the presentation. And my question is, you help communities or emergency preparedness committees do tabletop exercises in their communities?
Great question. We can definitely help with that. There are less grants available than there used to be. As Charles mentioned, there used to be a lot of grants. Now what the state has done is more regional type grants where we host in Dane County an exercise, and it works for all 13 counties surrounding us. They all try to get together, but our department itself could help you with a local one. I will say full scales are a huge beast, and they're costly for staff, and they're just huge to undertake. Take a lot of planning. Something like a tabletop is super beneficial. It's much less intimidating for your staff, and we would be happy to help with that sort of thing. You still learn a ton from tabletops. You can make a lot of changes in the process. Yes?
I had a question. One of our planning councils, which is a group of neighborhood associations that meet regularly, we were trying to figure out if your agency would provide general information that we could give to residents to know what they should do in an emergency internal health comes. And we were thinking that would be something that would be a good workshop, even if it was recorded, that could provide to general residents when something happens, because we feel like people really are just waiting for somebody to do something. There could be some things they could do.
For sure.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would say between preparedness for like emergencies like, tornadoes, power outages, things like that, we could cover that piece, but we would love to partner with 911 so that they can also talk to you about what do you do, what's helpful for your responders if you have to call 911. So between those two things, I mean, the perfect example, we work a lot with our hospitals and our clinics to get the home health agencies to start having these conversations with patients that are oxygen dependent and can't get out of their home without assistance. What are you going to do in an emergency? Because 911 isn't always an option if it's, evacuate a neighborhood or something like that. So we're always trying to work with these partners, and, neighborhood associations would be a great way for us to do that. The other thing from a municipal standpoint, if you have newsletters, things like that, please let us help you with some material. We have lots to share. We just want you to ask, and we're happy to share that information. Another thing emergency management does is, it's called the RAVE system, but it's a way for us to get messages out to, let's say, a radius that needs to either shelter in place because of a safety concern or needs to evacuate. That's something that the county can do. If people register their landlines are in our system, they have to register their cell phones, and that's been a bit of a challenge, so if we can help get that information out to your municipalities, we'd like to do that as well.
How many have landlines anymore?
Nobody, right? Okay, a few of you. Not a lot. But we do go to national night outs and help to promote that, but any other opportunities within your municipality we'd like to take advantage of.
Any other questions? Thank you.